expensive item that I've purchased there before. Now I value local business, but their prices are too high. And if they can't sell it cheaper, then they all deserve to die. Give me the machine, yeah, give me the machine. It tells me what I want and never asks me what I need. I'm never wrong, and when I am, it gives me things for free. My fellow man can go to hell, just give me the machine. I don't know any physics or how chemicals react. I have no information, so don't bother me with facts. Just tell me what I want to know and go about your day. If you can't do your job, I guess I'll just be on my way. Give me the machine, yeah, give me the machine. It tells me what I want and never asks me what I need. I'm never wrong, but when I am, it gives me things for free. My fellow man can go to hell, just give me the machine. It tracks my every move and maps the patterns of my thoughts. It can half predict the future based on random crap I bought. It sends me sweet reminders of the history we shared, stored upon some server farm within some super villain's lair. Give me the machine, yeah, give me the machine. It tells me what I want and never asks me what I need. I'm never wrong, but when I am, it gives me things for free. My fellow man can go to hell, just give me the machine. There's a warehouse full of peasants that fulfill my every whim. They're all pissing into bottles as to not get fired again. They might never break the cycle, they may never make ends meet, but it's nothing like the shame if I myself was in the street. So give me the machine, yeah, give me the machine. It tells me what I want and never asks me what I need. I'm never wrong, and when I am, it gives me things for free. My fellow man can go to hell, just give me the machine. What time is tomorrow? What hour is this? How long have I been here? How much did I miss? Wherever I wander back here. I drink in the darkness, I drink in the fear. The tide pulls me under, how far I don't know. It rips me a new one, and it fills in the hole. What time is tomorrow? What hour is this? How long have I been here? How much did I miss? As long as I'm longing, I'll never be lost. I lumber down highways and melt in the fog. I never did hunger, I never did sleep, I never did wonder what color I bleed. What time is tomorrow? find them confining. These walls and this roof, it's not like they're lying if they don't know the truth. I've been raised to the ground and raised from the dead, but I'll never be holy, putting holes in my head. What time is tomorrow? What hour is this? How long have I been here? How much did I miss? What time is tomorrow? What hour is this? How long have I been here? How much did I miss? Brothers' bones to build a sewer. They dug them up regardless of expense. They're moving his remains to install some shithouse drains to satisfy the local residents. First it was the factory by the river, and the public schools all had to close. They killed half our sons and daughters, pumping scum in all the water. And now they went and moved my brother's bones. Now what's the use of having a religion if after death your troubles never cease? 'Cause some 1%er prick wants a pipeline for his shit. They won't let my poor old brother rest in peace. I hope those motherfuckers live forever, and every single night they never sleep, as my brother's spirit screams in their ears until they bleed, and they'll pray that Satan take their soul to keep. 'Cause what's the use of having a religion if after death your troubles never cease? 'Cause some 1%er prick wants a pipeline for his shit. They won't let my poor old brother rest in peace. 'Cause God don't want no billionaires in heaven. He lines them up outside the pearly gates, where they wait and rot and moan like a paradise skid row, and they'll wish they hadn't thrown it all away. 'Cause what's the use of having a religion if after death your troubles never cease? 'Cause some 1%er prick wants a pipeline for his shit. They won't let my poor old brother rest in peace. 'Cause some 1%er prick wants a pipeline for his shit. They won't let my poor old brother rest in peace.
Correct. Correct.
Quality writing makes your schoolwork better and helps you
time to be brave. Now is the time to be brave. Now I only drink lemon lime.
text and drive today. I won't do it. I can't change my mind today. I can't do it. I won't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I won't do it. There's a soft parade in my head. It's a soft parade in my head. Space. Space. It is the place where I like to go when I feel a little low. Now is the time to be brave. Now is the time to be brave.
It's YouTube Music. Download the app today and get a trial of Music Premium on us. Restrictions.
correct.
We ran a good campaign against tremendous headwinds. The numbers are not finalized because there are still outstanding votes in the city, especially mail-in ballots. But as the numbers stand right now, it appears that I will not prevail.
Correct. That's correct.
All right. And it was
Hey, how's it going, everybody? The Curls.
Man, love the curls, man.
Go check out the Curls. You got nothing going on. You're at home today. Just Jam out to the curls a little bit, right, Ben?
Unless you're some youngster on the beaches of Florida. I got them on my mind, D. I'll be talking about that in a little while.
Well, I say jam out to the curls, but, I mean, for the next hour or two, just listen to us, you know?
Heck
We'll play the curls throughout the breaks, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All right, I think I got everything we need for, thanks, Ben. I think we got everything we need for live stream chat here. Weigh in if you can hear us before we get going here. And, of course, we'll do a song of the day, as we always do. Yeah, I just rode my bike to the Sun Times this morning and just grabbed crap that we need. So I got a hard line to connect there. Wi-Fi, turns out we need a stronger signal, Ben, so we got that taken care of.
That's correct.
All right. You needed better headphones. Got new headphones for you so you can hear the show a little better.
That's correct.
Got another microphone. I think we're in business here. Now we're waiting for the live stream chat. I see Pat Rod. I see Bruce, KMA Barry.
All right.
Just weigh in. Tell me if you can hear us before we get going, and we'll get going. Turns out that's pretty important here. All right.
Good to know we're back.
All
We're
right.
back.
Kyle weighed in. What's up, Kyle? KY. He says, sounds great, Dennis. So we'll go ahead and
The
get
doctor.
it on and pumping here. Okay. Your Ben Joravsky show for Friday, March 20th. Is just moments away. But before we get into this, we got to thank the following unions for jumping on board and sponsoring this program. Unions like the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace, Non-Aerosmith Workers, Local 126 and District 8. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9 are sponsors, as well as the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Giant thank you to those unions for jumping on board and sponsoring this program. And, of course, today's Ben Joravsky show for Friday, March 20th, is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, give us a quarantine song of the day.
Well, this gonna be a little shocker, D. This is your generation. All right, long story here. How I got this song, probably tell it while
I know exactly what it is.
What?
It's that song we were talking about yesterday, right?
No. Negatory.
Oh.
No. All right, this is a song I heard last night. I'll tell you more about it anyway. But I'm not really quite sure how it goes. Not that it matters anyway, because even when I know how a song goes, it doesn't come out right, but it goes. Let's see. Anyone could see that the road that they walk on is paved and go down in a wheel.
I've never heard that song. Has anyone heard that song?
Anyone could see. Da, 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 da. It's by a group called Fastball.
Oh, you just got all of the words wrong. That's what it is.
I beg your pardon. I believe the words are anyone could see the road they walk on is paved, or any way they, I don't know. It's something like that.
Oh, you're right. You're just awful at singing.
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. Yep. You got that? Where's
That is a
Miller?
good song, though. Fastball. They got two good songs.
Look at you knowing stuff. Oh, yeah. I did not know about that until yesterday. But anyway, that's the song. I'm trying to be hip and current for our 90s. I'm only 20 years behind the time.
And yes, if you're just now joining us for our quarantine special, occasionally you will hear the Brown Line. Turns out Ben lives right by it, and I mean right by it. So, I don't know, kind of makes it unique. The Ben Joravsky Show starts now. It is Friday, March 20th. And live from Ben's house, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, it's another Rummana Rundown with Sun-Times editor Rummana Hussain over the phone. And making her long-awaited Ben Joravsky return over the phone, CTU Vice President Stacy Davis Gates. And now your host, the meanest air-based player on the planet, Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Denial Friday. And here's why. It's day 3 of a shut-in. I'm keeping count the way they did in movies about guys locked in prison. You know how they do that, D? They scrape on the walls. Day 1.
Oh, yeah.
And then they go 2. And then they always put the line, when they get to 4, they put the line through it to make it 5. That's how it is. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Oh, it's not that bad. Come on. It's not like I'm in prison. I mean, I get out.
Well, I actually did. I carved that on your wall. Sorry about that. Day 3.
Number 3.
Oh, is that what that is? Yeah. Anyway, I get out last night. I went to CVS, and that's where I heard, okay, here's the deal. I went out to get some, pain pills. My wife told me don't get ibuprofen because if you get coronavirus, it's not helpful to have
I'm
it.
so glad your wife said that. My mom told me that the other day, and I'm like, oh crap, I got to tell Ben. He loves that stuff.
Man, I love that stuff. What do I like more, coffee, ice cream, or ibuprofen? Can I get back to
Please,
that one a little
please
bit?
pick one of the first two.
So anyway, so I'm at the store, and apparently I'm the last guy to know anything. Everybody else knew this thing about IB, just the way your mom, what up, Vicky, and my wife, they knew it. And so the only thing left on the shelf was IB. I mean, everybody's like, oh, we don't want it.
Funny how that works.
Let's have Ben take that. But there was this one bottle of aspirin. So I'm asking people in the store, does aspirin work? Does this, and they're like, who's this weird guy? Hey, 6 feet,
Yeah.
Don't come closer. Anyway, while I was there looking at the aspirin, that song came over. And I think I'd heard it once before. I'm like, oh my God, that's a good song.
They made up their mind and they started packing. That's what the song.
Whoa.
It's like one of the verses.
No, it goes, anyone could see, da 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 da. Anyway, I was listening to that song. I was really feeling it, and I got the aspirin anyway, and now it turns out I'm not sure that you're supposed to take aspirin either. So I got all this aspirin, ibuprofen. So it is. Anyway, I woke up this morning with something new on my mind, deniers. I've been thinking a lot about this. Here we are. We're following along with all the rules. We believe essentially what all the experts in the world are saying, that this is a serious health crisis and that you should isolate yourself, quarantine yourself, change your patterns to protect not just yourself from getting the germs, but also passing them on. You don't want to be a carrier, all right? So here we are doing, we're having all these phone interviews. We had them yesterday. We're doing them today.
You just reminded me, I got to wipe down.
Yeah. Yes, hurry up. And all our guests are very, they're doing the same thing. But out in the rest of the world, there's a lot of people who are in denial. And some of the denials. Let's see, there's the political deniers. That's the gang of people who support Donald Trump. I call them Trump deniers. Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, and their followers. They're upset that this disease, this outbreak, has caused the markets to crash. And it's forced the country into a recession. If we're not there yet, we're certainly heading there. And now they're losing the main argument they had for re-electing Trump, which is, that the economy is doing so well, there's no point in changing it. It's really weird, this notion that we should rank our presidents or judge our presidents by how, the stock market is doing. We had this conversation with our good friend Nick Spizzato, who's perhaps the only Trump supporter who's ever been on this show, right?
What up, Nick Spizzato?
Yeah, still, like Nick Spizzato. He came on the show, Alderman Nick Spizzato, and he said, Ben, it's hard not to vote for Donald Trump from his perspective when he sees his 401k rising, and its value is rising. He's getting more. He has more money than he ever had before, and so, he has to credit Trump. So when I think about that, I'm thinking about that argument. What's the corollary? Well, it's hard to vote for Trump if your 401k is falling. So if you're going to support Trump because the stock market's going up, then it just stands to reason that you should not vote for Trump if the stock market is falling. I can already hear the argument coming from the Trump supporters. They go, well, Ben, you don't understand. Trump had nothing to do with the coronavirus. It's not his fault, right? It came from China. Isn't that what Trump always says? It's the Chinese virus. So it's not his, you can't blame him. Well, I would argue that Trump had nothing to do with the stock market's rise. So it's this interesting. It's like there's really no objective measure in the eyes of Trump supporters correlating the markets to Trump. It's like if the market rises, they give all the credit to Trump. If the market falls, they blame somebody else. So the point is realistically, if they're honest, they'd have to admit that the market, the rise and the fall of the market has no bearing whatsoever on whether they like Trump. They just like the guy for whatever reason. So I just think you should be honest on that one, folks. There's nothing specific or concrete about liking Trump. You just like him. I'm trying to think of someone that I like. I like Adam Sandler, all right?
Oh, you love Adam Sandler.
At least
the Sandman, you call him.
At least in Uncut Gems. Speaking of Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider is another denier. He's one of Adam's friends from Hollywood. Adam did not have him in his last movie, I'm happy to say. He's kind of like, you like Schneider, right? No?
Not really.
Okay.
I remember he was the copy guy, making copies. Hey, Hey, making copies.
He had one or two good movies way back when, but it's kind of weird. He's out there, denying it, and I'm not quite sure what's motivating him. I don't know if he's like Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity. He wants to see Trump win re-election, so he's denying it, calling it a hoax in order to, undercut the argument that Trump's not effective. But I don't know. Maybe it's just some kind of weird phase he's going through. Maybe he's trying to come up with new material. Maybe he's trying to be relevant. Maybe he just wants to go on the opposite side where everybody else who's sane is. But whatever. He's the denier. Another denier, and this is one of my current obsessions, are those kids down in Florida for spring break. I have a confession to make, D. I spent the better part of at least 15 to 20 minutes, maybe longer, maybe a half an hour. Oh, gosh, this is really sad. I woke up early this morning, and I was just sort of doodling around the internet, and I started watching these interviews with these kids down in Florida who've been partying like rock stars for the last week.
Bro, we got this. Bro.
Yeah, that's exactly. I guess you don't even have to play the tape. You did a good.
Hey, man, it's cool. Smoking weed, drinking, partying, bro. Oh, here comes the brown line.
Where is it? Is that Ron? No, it's not Ron. Just come on, Ron. Remember, that was my joke from about a year ago where Ron wrote the essay for advising New Yorkers on what they could learn from Chicago about how effective our public transportation is. And it was as though Ron himself was driving the trains. And he had time to be the mayor, write the essay, drive the trains. Anyway, that's why I was. Is that Ron driving that brown line?
Bro, I'm on the train, man. No big deal.
Oh, yeah, back to the guys down in Florida. So there was this one guy in particular. I can't remember his name. I think it may have been Bradley or something. Began with a B.
It was one of these kids?
Yeah, he's perhaps the best known. I've now watched him like 3 times. He's the guy. He's wearing a hat.
I mean, typically it'd be a Kyle or a Chad or like a name like that.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's a B. And he's such a bro. He's got the hat backwards, and he was like, Corona. It's like, wow. I know he's a little more articulate than that, but not much more articulate.
Ain't no thing, dude.
And
we're young, man. We're young.
That's the point. And I was listening to this guy. And I had the feeling, by the way, there's another guy. Before I get to this guy, the other guy.
The other guy. There's always the other guy.
There was like a whole string of these young people in Florida that I was watching. And there was this one dude who was like, what? And I swear I love reefer as much as the next guy, but this guy was so freaking stoned. And he was like, why aren't we really working on... Why are we trying to solve real problems like poverty, man? You know what I mean? And war. I'm like, I could see you're on the front lines of the war against poverty right down there at that Florida bar that you're, he's like mad because we're wasting our time with this pandemic. Oh my God, we should be working on poverty. But meanwhile, he's going to take a break from the war on poverty, take a little rest and relaxation down in Florida. Anyway, back to Bradley. Bradley was saying, he's like...
I got that clip you were talking about.
Oh, let's hear it, bro.
Yeah.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
It may have been his brother. Yeah, they went from watching the alligator in Humboldt Park Lagoon to going down to Florida party. And, oh, God, don't ruin our party.
Dude, I've seen some catfish, some alligator. No corona, though, bro.
And the train's going by. How you doing, Rom? Anyway, so old boy down there, whatever his name is, Bradley, bro. Let's just call him bro.
Broadly.
Broadly is... I had the realization, this is a different kind of denial guy. This is a guy who's like half listening, all right? So there's a lot of people like this, not just bros, not just Broadly, not just young people, a lot of people half listening. And so they pick up what they want to hear and then they discard all the rest. So, you could be talking for hours and hours about the coronavirus. And then you get to a sentence that says, the people most in danger are old people. That's what he heard. That's all he heard. And as soon as he heard that sentence, he turned off everything else. It's like, oh, I'm not old. I'm young. I'm healthy. It doesn't affect me. Let's party on. And so he's like, that's it.
Oh, Broadly.
And so I don't know if it ever occurred to him, that he might be a carrier. He might pick up the virus and then spread it to some old guy, like the old guy in the sentence that has to worry about it. I don't know if that occurred to him, if he's worried about that, if he's concerned about that. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it.
I've seen a whole lot of
Here we
catfish,
go.
some turtles. No gators yet, though.
Yeah. So, it's like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. Why should I care? Party on. And meanwhile, the other guy's upset because we're not tackling the great issues of the day, like poverty. Like he's on the front lines.
And listeners, just so you know, Ben and I, we're in the same room together, but I am not, associating with other people. I've been eating garlic every day. Turns out that's like helps the immune system. So I've been taking care of myself.
And
my goal in life right now is to not get this man sick.
No, and
all
he's
right?
very dutiful about it. He calls me at least twice a day. How you feeling? I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. I'm feeling good. It's good to get those phone calls. A lot of young people are calling me up, D. I've hit that stage of life where young people call you when there's a coronavirus outbreak. How you doing, old man? I'm doing okay.
But based on what J.B. Pritzker may be announcing, I might get put in the slammer for coming over here in a few days.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that. But anyway, so there's another form of denier. And these are the people who are the offshoots of the first. These are the people who actually listen to Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity when they deny that coronavirus is a serious epidemic. And there was a great article in the New York Times. My wife called it to my attention today. Thank you very much.
See that newspaper, listeners?
Oh, yeah.
Show them. See that?
There we go. You can hear it.
No live video today, guys.
You can hear it. So this, the headline is, "Anyone actually sick? Yes," she told her friends. "My husband," written by Elena Plott, putting a local face on the coronavirus. It's a very interesting story about a community in suburban New Orleans, a right of center, to put it mildly, very pro-Trump community. They love Donald Trump. And they, apparently they get most of their news from Fox, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh. And they just treated the coronavirus, the news of the coronavirus, as a hoax, as something contrived by Democrats to undercut Donald Trump. Whatever it was that Rush Limbaugh was saying, they believed. And here's one typical Facebook posting that one of the residents of this town put out there. It goes, "Hurricane Corona hype, sigh." And then she writes, "I stole that from Rush, but I was thinking the same before he said it." And then 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation points. I stole that from Rush. My guy's got a lot of power, a lot of influence. Well, it turns out that
we're not talking about the band.
Yes, we're not talking about the band. Very important. Thank you for saying that. Many of our listeners may have been confused. Wait a minute. Why are you talking about Rush? Isn't it that guy?
Or there was that candidate, Rush Darwish.
Yeah, very good. From the 3rd Congressional District. Rush. For 10 trivia points, Dennis, what is the drummer's name in Rush?
Neil Peart.
I did not know it. That was one of those times where I asked him a question and I didn't know the answer.
Yeah, he recently passed away.
He did. Is he the guy with one arm?
No, that's Def Leppard.
Oh, Def Leppard. Sorry.
I'm trying to get Ben hip onto rock history, rock and roll history.
This is funny. When Dennis and I are driving the car, a lot of times we listen to classic rock when we're not listening to Jimmy Dore or Todd Glass or Joe Rogan, And so we're listening to hard rock. And I got to tell you, if it's a song after 1979, I don't know it. And Dennis knows all these freaking hard rock songs. It's pretty amazing.
Well, man. I told him about Def Leppard and how, if you're ever down in life and you think you can't do something, well, always remember the drummer in Def Leppard has one arm.
One arm.
A one-armed drummer.
Wow, one-armed drummer. Yeah. Anyway, so going back to the story of the deniers in Louisiana, somebody in their community got very sick with coronavirus and has been in a hospital for at least a week, I want to say. Is very close to death. It's kind of a sad story. But all of a sudden, all these people down in Trump land who get their news from Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh are coming face to face with the facts that, maybe this isn't a hoax. Maybe this isn't something that the Democrats made up, that the news media made up. So it's like they're being forced to confront the reality of their own denials. Interesting little point. They are not quite sure how the gentleman who was very sick got the coronavirus. My thought is perhaps he was infected by one of those bros who was partying in Florida.
Broadly.
We got a great show today, everybody. Yes, indeed. No denial on this show. We're going to deal with reality, right, D? Our guest, Rummana Hussain. We're just like a regular Friday, everybody. Only Rummana's going to be talking to us from a phone in her house. on the north side of Chicago. Looking forward to Rummana, who said she's all fired up. I talked to her already, D. She's ready to talk about those bros in Florida. And she's also ready to talk about Sean Spicer was apparently at Trump's press conference today. Did you hear about this?
Oh, that dancing guy?
Yes, the dancer.
The dancer?
Speaking of denial, oh my God. Remember, like, can I just go on a tangent here, D?
Go for it.
All right.
I mean,
this is one of my favorite tangents. He was on Dancing with the Stars, and when the show began, Sean Spicer said, okay, just back up. Sean Spicer, of course, is Donald Trump's former press secretary. So I can't remember when he got bounced, but he got bounced. But he still remains loyal to Trump. He's got some issues there. Anyway, so he was on Dancing with the Stars. He goes, the beautiful thing about Dancing with the Stars is that we can put politics aside and we can just all concentrate on the things that we have in common, which is our love for dance, all right? And just put politics aside. Democrats can vote for me. Republicans can vote for me. If Republicans don't like me, they can vote for the next guy, et cetera, and so forth. Well, as soon as it turned out he was a lousy dancer and the judges were all giving him low grades, what did he do, D? He started making an appeal to Red America, to Trump America. Don't let the left defeat me. Don't let them have another win. And so he's trying to turn this into a political issue. Anyway, that's Sean Spicer. He was in the audience at the Trump press conference, acting though he's a real reporter. So let's see what Rummana has to say about that. Lots to talk about with Rummana. That's Stacy Davis Gates. Love talking to him. SDG from the Chicago Teachers Union. She'll be on the phone with us at 2 o'clock. She's got a lot to talk about: national politics, local politics, all kinds of politics. We'll be also doing an interview, but I guess we won't be airing it now with Samina Mustafa. We'll be dropping that tomorrow to sort of promote that bonus.
Guys, we're still doing the same thing we've been doing. Oh, there's the brown line.
Nope, no Rom.
Yeah, no Rom.
No Rom.
No, we're still doing what we've been doing, all right? We're going to have bonus interviews on the weekend. I think we got the live stream issue figured out here. So I think we're a fully functioning podcast right now,
We're
Ben.
Unbelievable. We're a fully functioning. Correct. Thank you, Mueller. We have Mueller in the studio.
He's here.
Yeah. So,
maybe maybe one day we'll get Pam on the show.
Oh, my lovely wife. Yeah. She came by the other day. The happiest man in quarantine land, Dennis. Look, can I have more peanut butter? Guy gets a peanut butter sandwich every day now.
Now, come on, peanut butter and jelly. I'm not a monster.
Anyway, so Samina will be here as well, but she won't be on the live feed. She'll be. Oh, she's fired up to talk about national health care and she made a very good point how the Democrats are blowing their opportunity to show themselves as a party of opposition, a party of reason and rationality. They've kind of, Joe Biden's disappeared. Have you noticed that, D? Yeah, and there's an argument. I can't imagine Bernie disappearing at this moment if he were at center stage and the presumptive nominee.
Well, he's always in our hearts.
Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear words.
Yes, indeed. So anyway, we have plenty of conversation ahead of us. But before we do that, the young man from Alton, the man they call the doctor, with the news.
How's it going, guys? Not a doctor. I didn't really write my news. Like I said, I rode to the Sun-Times and grabbed all the equipment we needed here. The roads weren't too busy, believe it or not. But we do have a quick update here. I'm sure everybody's been hearing about it. The following comes from Capitol Facts and the meanest Illinois political bulldog in the yard, Rich Miller. It says here, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker plans to issue a, quote, shelter-in-place order for the entire state starting Saturday, tomorrow, essentially commanding residents to stay in their homes as the officials take drastic measures to slow the spread of the coronavirus, sources told the Chicago Tribune. Pritzker is expected to announce this directive at 3 p.m. today. So maybe as we're doing the show, it's going to happen. We'll try and maybe play a bit of it live or grab some clips from it or maybe play it for a bonus interview. Regardless, we're going to try and cover this. Residents can still go to the grocery stores, put gas in their cars, take walks outside, and make pharmacy runs. All local roads, including the interstate highways and tollways, will remain open to traffic as well. So we're going to keep everybody posted on all this. Like I said here, I'm going to try and ride my bike over on Tuesday, Ben, for the next show.
Yeah, I don't tell Pritzker, okay?
Hell.
And we talked about this, how quickly this, we're moving in the direction of a quarantine. On Tuesday, D, just remember, we had an election.
Yeah.
We had an election. And I think about how insane that was more and more. I mean, it's you put it best. You were talking about this last week because Dennis and I had a bit of a disagreement on this. Like Dennis was saying, we should postpone that. You were heading in that direction. I was like, I just want to get rid of it.
Well, I still think we shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I have the selfish reasons for wanting to get rid of it. I was so sick of those Bill Conway commercials. And I realize, folks, I confess that's a selfish reason. And I'm happy on this regard, D. It's not hanging over our heads. There's that. But it is so counterintuitive that it was Tuesday. Dennis points this out. This is his point. I got to give him credit for it. Like, go vote. Leave your house. It's okay. It's safe. Go vote. And now it's like, don't leave your house. Stay in your house.
Leave it to a politician to go and tell me to go vote for him.
And so I will now defend the Brosters down in Florida. When you have...
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
Broadly. I'm young, man. Like, what the corona, man. So what? Who cares?
I'm flexing on it, bro. I don't even care.
No, they had these pictures of these guys, video guys of wrestling. You talk about social distance. These guys are like, there's like everybody standing around. They're in the sand. They're doing sand wrestling. Okay, guys, whatever. And then, come on, my favorite. Why are we working on stuff like ending poverty?
Well, and then there's things like I mentioned it on Facebook last night. There's still like dating apps still like up and running.
Yes.
Like, oh, swipe right. Oh, I like that one. Guys, don't just stop.
All right. So the point is this. The point is I am now going to defend the Brosters down in Florida. When your own government is sending out mixed messages and you're only barely paying attention anyway, and you're inebriated, and you're young and you're just horny and it's like, what the hell? What difference does it make? It's just old people anyway, get it? So I'm kind of giving them a little out there, huh, D? Nah, not a very good one. Anyway, we're going to take a break, right, young man?
Yeah, we're going to take a break. Like, we got people over the phone. We're going to be talking with Rummana Hussain. We're also going to be talking with Stacy Davis Gates. I'm very interested to see how Stacy Davis Gates is holding up these days with everything. So everybody stick around. The Ben Joravsky Show will be right back. Live from Ben's house.
Down by some brick and mortar store for any inexpensive item that I've purchased there before. Now I value local business, but their prices are too high. And if they can't sell it cheaper, then they all deserve to die. Give me the machine, yeah, give me the machine. It tells me what I want and never asks me what I need. I'm never wrong, and when I am, it gives me things for free. My fellow man can go to hell, just give me the machine. I don't know any physics or how chemicals react. I have no information, so don't bother me with facts. Just tell me what I want to know and go about your day. If you can't do your job, I guess I'll just be on my way. Give me the machine, yeah, give me the machine. It tells me what I want and never asks me what I need. I'm never wrong, but when I am, it gives me things.
Shout out to Daylight Factory. Go check them out. The Ben Joravsky Show's back, and I believe we have Rummana Hussain on the line. Rummana, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely,
loud
we
and
can.
clear.
Now, there's an option for you can hit the video to maybe see us.
Yeah, I don't know. My hair's all wet, and it's in a
Don't worry.
towel.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'll do it next week.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Nobody can see you anyway. All right, just be us seeing you, and it's fine.
Yeah, I'll do it next. I mean, I'm supposed to do. It's really funny because I actually was thinking about this. It's really interesting how like people are talking about video chats, and it's usually, I mean, the dressing from work. It's all men who are saying to dress up. None of the women. All the women are happy. They don't have to dress up.
Well, okay,
but I'm actually someone who really likes dressing up. But when I go out, when I'm in, I kind of wear my pajamas anyway.
Well, Rummana, because you see me every Friday at the Bright One, and you know how much I like dressing up too. Just kidding.
Sarcasm at its best.
By the way, Rummana, as I'm speaking, the brown line is passing us. The brown line is passing us, and it has passed. We're doing this show from my house. So we're taking this quarantine very seriously. And what's it like for you? I think last week was your first time trying it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's I don't think I'm someone, I kind of knew this from before. Thursday was my first time that I ever did a full day from home. And it was okay. And I knew that we'd probably be doing it for 2 weeks. And I was like, that's fine. And now as news spreads, I'm like, I don't know, how long do I have to do this? It's okay. I've always knew that even if I ever had to work from home, it wouldn't be something I'd want to do all day or all the rest of my life. So I don't know. It's okay. I miss people. I kind of think I'm more of I always saw myself as an extrovert. Like I get energy from other people. And when I'm just with the cats that we have and my husband, I'm just like, he actually likes working from home.
Yeah.
So he's more used to it and I'm not. And we're both, we have a 2-bedroom condo. And we're both working from the same space. So it's like I hear morning meetings all the time. Yes, I usually just go to the bedroom for my meeting. And I actually go under my electric blanket to stay warm. I look like I'm sleeping. And I just do the meeting from there. Although today, they wanted us to start doing Google Chat. So I gotta look normal for that. So we're going to do that. I was going to blow dry my hair right after this. So, that I have to do via video because I guess we're talking over each other during the meetings. And so our boss said that Chris Buster said it's probably easier if we can see each other.
Well, so Dennis and I, just so you know, nothing has changed for Dennis and myself. We're pretty much wearing the same exact clothes we were wearing the last time you saw us. I think that's the same sweatshirt Dennis is wearing. So
we shoot for the stars.
We shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
And folks should know this. Rummana is very much an extrovert. I know this has to be a challenge for you because you do like talking to people. When I bump into you in the hallways, and sometimes you always got something nice to say. We always end up having a nice chat. There are other people that have their heads down. Rummana, you and I are not those.
You know what? I think I realized more just within the last few years. Most journalists are very type A, and some of them are very introverted. And I'm not. I'm totally a type B kind of person. I'm extroverted. I'm not saying I don't worry about things, but I'm just kind of a little more relaxed than a lot of people.
Wait, help me with
and
this
my husband's less. Yeah.
All right. Excuse my utter ignorance. Type A versus type B. What's the difference?
Type A is someone who's like a lot more, I don't know, just anal. Just kind of, I don't know. How do you describe a type A personality? They're just very they're very responsible, which is not to say that I'm not responsible because I think I am, but they're just, I guess type B people are more laid back.
Yeah.
And type A people are just more they're just tightly wound. I don't think you or Dennis are type A people.
No, I'm definitely not.
Get along.
Well,
my husband's a type A person.
Okay.
It's very interesting. So that's what I'm saying. It's like working with him it's very interesting.
But is it the time?
I'm still. I mean, he went to go on an Aldi run right now, so he's not here.
Oh, so great! Let's throw him under the bus. He's not around to hear.
No.
Yes.
I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. Most of that stuff we can say off the record. But I mean, we have different working styles. I mean, we're both I think we're both productive. We have the same. We both value work the same way, but he's a lot more serious than I am sometimes. So it's
let me give you my theory. I'm going to give you my theory about journalists, and it's similar to actors. And I'm stealing this idea from an interview I once saw with Robert Redford, the great actor. And Robert Redford said that he essentially is a shy person, and that he says many actors are shy, and they only come to life when they're doing a role, and that's when they sort of they can escape their shyness just by being in a role. And I think there's a type of journalist who only comes to life when he or she is engaged in the role of being a journalist and asking questions. And so they're
and otherwise they're socially abnormal,
socially inept, I mean, shy.
Yeah, there are.
Right?
No, I mean, no, I'm not saying Nick is like that, because I think is very social. But he's more introverted than I am. And that's something I learned more after we got married. I'm just like, I can go out all day and just I can go to more than a couple social gatherings at once, and he can't.
Yeah, no.
If he goes out once, it's a stop.
By the way, the Mick she's alluding to is a dear friend of mine, Mick Dumke, and he is definitely not. I just want to make this clear, in that category I'm talking about. He's a very personable young man, but there are limits to what he wants to do, and he's different in that regard.
I love how these segments always turn into just
poor Mick
analyzation.
Let's throw him under the bus.
We're not throwing him under the bus. I'm just saying I'm more extroverted. I mean, he probably thinks I'm crazy, So it's it's different. So working with him is definitely interesting. One thing I was going to tweet about, it's really funny. When he talks to sources, he talks really loud. And I talk loud. I'm a loud talker.
Yeah.
But it's when he talks to sources, it's the volume level goes up. So I was going to tweet, and I might tweet it today, but it's I was like, Nick Stumpy reminds me of somebody when he talks to sources. And I go, oh yeah, my parents, when they could talk to their relatives in India in the 1980s, and the phone lines was really bad. That's what it sounds like. It's just it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is.
I want to tell him, I'm you sound you get really loud when he's talking to his coworkers, because they have video conference calls. He's very he talks his normal level. But when he talks to his sources, it's just he's screaming.
All right, let's move
and
away.
I'm a few feet away from him. But anyway, we don't have to talk. We don't have to talk about that.
All right, let's talk about something that's been on my mind, and I already suggested to you that I was going to get your thoughts on this. Donald Trump's insistence on calling the coronavirus the Chinese virus. There was a picture that the Washington Post photographer took over the shoulder of Donald Trump. His speech, he'd actually scratched out coronavirus and wrote in Chinese. What's your thoughts about why he's doing this?
I mean, he wants to make it seem, this is just my opinion, but I am bringing my opinion into it, making it seem like it's something that was brought in, obviously. This did start from China, but he wants to emphasize that this is what they did to us, kind of, or it's he did call it last week when he had his press, the announcement where he addressed the nation, he called it a foreign virus.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you read my column, but I did touch upon, I wrote a sentence about that. He's called it a Chinese and a foreign virus. Just so, I don't know, just to keep the whole theme of make America great again, keep America safe. It's just, and I don't know if you know, but there have been a lot of incidents where people have been, saying things if, there's an Asian person or Asian looking person coughing or sneezing, there's all these incidents where, people are talking about, people are giving them dirty looks and treating them bad. So it just kind of keeps in the whole thing with that, to stress that this is something very foreign.
Mm-hmm.
It's a foreign thing, you know. So, and obviously, this is something that we're all in together. So I just think it's just a way to use language. He said that it's okay to use it because it started from China, and I think there have been studies. I've seen articles about how it kind of creates xenophobia, and he doesn't care about it. He kind of dismissed that. There was a reporter who tweeted that somebody in his cabinet called it the Kung Fu virus, and I think he was questioned about it. And I think he was going around in circles.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I was the president, I would not use that terminology. I know that.
Yeah, I had this thought.
And
I had this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had this thought today, Rummana, when I was reading these articles. I've spent so much of the day being obsessed with people who are in denial about the coronavirus and its impact. I've talked a lot about that already. And Donald Trump has, in the last week, made something of a transformation for Donald Trump, and that he's holding these daily press briefings where he's more or less sober or somber, far more restrained than he is generally on his Twitter feed or he is at a rally, as he's trying to assure the country that he's taking very seriously this health crisis. And it's I think there was a poll out today that said his approval rating has gone up since he started doing this. It doesn't take much for the American people to fall in line behind a powerful leader. So I get this feeling that when he says the Chinese virus, it's his way of sending a message to his followers, his true believers, that even though he's playing this role and taking seriously the notion that this is a crisis,
Yeah, for sure.
he's still playing the role. Hey, I let you know I still am Donald Trump. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yes, exactly. Keep America great. I feel like it's that, oh, yeah, America's still great. Don't worry. That kind of reinforcement that this isn't something we did or have, I don't know. It's definitely something that is sending a message to someone.
Speaking of Donald Trump's briefings, was it you that told me that Sean Spicer was...
Sean Spicer, yeah, I did. So I was like, I keep track on Twitter, so I guess he had his daily briefings, and Sean Spicer sitting there with the other reporters, basically saying, asking a question. And Trump, it's really funny because someone said that and I saw the clip. Trump basically calls on him as if he doesn't know who he is. He's like, "Oh, you in the back over there," and then you see Sean Spicer sitting there asking these questions. It's so weird, and it's just bizarre. I mean, so someone that was in your administration, all of a sudden he's in the press gallery asking you questions, and then I think he kind of went after some reporters too. Some reporter asked what about all these millions of Americans who are afraid of what's going on, and he said something like, "Well, that just shows you're a bad reporter." And I think he called someone nasty too. So he was kind of attacking reporters, but then Sean Spicer can ask a question and he's very polite to him. It's very funny. You have to watch it.
I'll have to watch that. Yeah, I was just curious what media outfit Sean Spicer is working for.
I didn't know. Yeah, my sister-in-law was watching. I saw it on Twitter because people were talking about it, but it didn't say. He could have been working for a media outlet, but it's really bizarre.
And so I need your thoughts on the other obsession of mine. I'm a little embarrassed to mention this, but I spent a good chunk of the morning watching video clips of college kids romping around the beaches of Florida and just sort of missing my old carefree days of my late teens and early 20s. What's your take about these kids partying
Were
in
you
Florida?
a spring breaker?
No.
Were you
Oh my God, are you kidding? But
I was going to say,
it was not
my parents are Indian immigrants. I wasn't going to go party, so you know what I mean. I couldn't do that anyway. But it's crazy. I mean, it is hard probably to be someone that's young. I mean, I like going out. I like hanging out with people. So when you're that age, it's probably hard. But at the same time, and my sister has a 18-year-old son, and he had to go back to Champaign to clear out his stuff, and he's very social, and he's been going out and hanging out with his friends and playing basketball, and it's hard to kind of keep him at home right now. But he's not going to spring break. But I just think that's crazy. That wouldn't they? I'm like thinking at the same time, don't these people have parents? But then we're watching the interviews of these kids, and I don't know. If I'm going to be editorializing, they don't seem like the brightest bulbs, in my opinion. But the way they talk, that one guy was like, "I'm going to get the corona. I'll get the corona," or something. So.
By the way, Sean Spicer works for Newsmax.
Oh, Sean's.
Oh, okay. What?
Yeah.
What is Newsmax?
Good question.
That when you said that's like me when I asked Dennis a trivia question and I don't really know the answer to it. So, for instance, who's the drummer in Rush? And if no matter what he says, I won't be able to say right or wrong because I don't know. But somebody hired him and got him a press credential to get in there. The guy that you're quoting is the one that I watched, and then I did a little background check on him, and he's a basketball player. I was a little disappointed that he was a basketball player in high school because it's like, the NBA is down, dude. I mean, did you think about, did you put one?
I know. There's like every day, you get to learn about somebody in the NBA getting,
in the NBA
coronavirus, and then the first guy that was positive test, wasn't he the guy that was like joking around about getting coronavirus and he got coronavirus? So it's like,
Well,
on
it
the
was
Jazz.
Rudy.
He was, playing
Rudy
around with
Gobert. Rudy Gobert
Yeah.
on the Jazz, and then he had this impulsive moment in his life where the inner 15-year-old in him, and there's an inner 15-year-old.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Like that's a little different. He was joking. It was more of a. I felt bad for him. Honestly.
Well, and then he's apologized. Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't blame him for that because it was just kind of a funny moment, and maybe he wasn't that smart. But these kids are like now, and at that point, maybe I should say that it wasn't as drastic. Like what we know now, even within like the last few days, is a lot. I just feel like because I had friends over like less than 2 weeks ago, and it feels like about I guess tomorrow will be 2 weeks, and it feels like such a long time ago. I mean, my trip got canceled. I was supposed to be in Portugal right now. So that feels like a long time ago since Donald Trump talked about the travel and, the stopping of getting people, stopping people from coming to Europe. So I feel like at this point, the kids should know that it's pretty drastic. I mean, we have a lot of these orders where we're told to stay at home. That wasn't the case when the Utah Jazz guy was being interviewed. So I just kind of wonder, like, I mean, I know kids are older and they're 18, but I guess because I'm a child of immigrant, my mom still like yells at me and treats me like I'm a child, which is like, I get scared of my mom, and it's not like the cord is cut. So I feel like, where are these kids' parents? Like, my parents would totally like lock me in the house or something. I just don't know.
I have to tell you, I had the same thought when I had the thought when I was watching this kid and the kids, there was more than one. I was thinking, where are the parents? Isn't there a mother on the phone, like really ashamed? Like they see I just think about like if it was me, my mom would have been so mad at me. What are you doing?
Your mom still would have been mad at your late mother. Probably, if she was alive, would be mad at you.
Oh yeah. Oh my. Well, I hope I wouldn't do anything that stupid. But yeah.
Just a couple days ago, I was just telling my mom because the gyms weren't closed. This is before like everything started closing. I told my mom, I'm like, I'm still gonna go to the gym. My mom's like, you go to the gym, you can't come over to my house. So I'm just saying, I wonder. I just think it's ridiculous for these people to be partying on the beach at this point in time when they know all the news and there's no distancing amongst themselves. We just, we have to be. We don't have to get hysterical, but I think we have to be cautious and do whatever we can. Like I miss talking to people and I miss seeing my mom. I'm trying not to go into places where there's a lot of people. So I just think it's irresponsible to do that at this point and dangerous.
All right. There was another story in the paper that I was talking to you about today, and you had some great comments, and I'd love for you to share this, your thoughts with our listeners about Nikki Haley, who the former governor of South Carolina, and she was on the Boeing board, and she stepped down from the Boeing board. And when I started to tell you about, I don't know, did you have an opportunity to read that particular story? It was in the Sun Times?
No, I didn't. I'm just saying, like, she's one of those Indians that a lot of Indians aren't very proud of. And so I told you that she was on, there's a thing called the Desi Hall of Shame.
Mm-hmm.
Desi basically is a Hindi or Urdu word, which means of our people. So, but Indians and all South Asians and use it, Indians, Pakistani, Bangladeshis, other Sri Lankans, they use it to describe themselves. So there's this thing called the Desi Hall of Shame where they have, and I sent it to you. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it.
No, I didn't.
It's basically a list of Indian current politicians, and most of them are in the Trump administration, who all the Indians are a bit embarrassed about. Obviously, not all Indians, but it depends on political leanings. So and they always keep adding people, and most of these people right now are on Trump's administration. I think Bobby Jindal was on it at some point, but now he's not, just because he's not in the spotlight. But you have to look at it. It's just funny, and then people share it on social media.
Yeah.
So I didn't. Why did you leave the board?
Well, it was it was sort of a convoluted thing here. She was on the board, and by the way, it's a short story, so maybe there's more to it, but Haley exits Boeing board over bailout. Former U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley has resigned from the board of Boeing Company, cutting ties with the company she long supported as South Carolina governor because of her oppositions to a bailout of the airplane manufacturer that is in the works. Quote, I strongly believe that when one is part of a team and one cannot in good faith support the direction of the team, then the proper thing to do is resign. And so she's... again, it's a short article, but my sense of it is that she's opposed to the government bailing out Boeing. Now, I could think of many reasons why someone would be opposed to a bailout of Boeing. If there are no stipulations, for instance, that protect the taxpayers from seeing their money go to huge handouts to the top officials, as was the case, bonus payments. You know what I'm saying? There should be stipulations governing the process of giving the money to Boeing. But it's hard for me to understand the principle of the government not getting involved in some way to prop up the economy to minimize the impact of this coming recession.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you.
Yeah. So it seemed as though her impulse, and again, it's a short article. Maybe I have to find a longer article where she.
I have to look for it. Yeah.
Articulates
for her reasoning.
But her reasoning seems to be a knee-jerk opposition to any kind of government bailout, which I almost found refreshing in a weird way, Rummana, because that's Republican. I mean, the Republicans, we've been talking about this all week, have been acting like socialists. The reason Donald Trump rose in the polls is because he's doing Bernie Sanders-like programs to give money to people who really need it, give aid to people who really need it. And he's stealing it right out of Bernie Sanders, but it seems like Nikki Haley's still got that Republican in her. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's a free market. We should let it rise and fall on its own.
Yeah, that is interesting. I have to definitely read it. Sorry, I was giving you this background on her, not on her like what some Indian people think of her. But
no, I know. But it's, I have to admit, when I saw Nikki Haley, I got to talk to Rummana about Nikki Haley, Indian Americans in the news. Yeah. So, all right, let's bring it to the local level. For the longest time, Rummana, you and I have been talking about Kim Foxx and Smollett Gate. I joked about this all the time, my utter obsession with the case, even though I don't think it's that important, but I sure love talking about it. Kim Foxx was triumphant on Tuesday. It seems as though most of the voters in Cook County agreed with me that it wasn't worth bouncing her from office. Were you surprised?
Yeah, and we predicted that too, didn't we, last week? Yeah. No, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be like a cakewalk for her, but, I think I was going to say I didn't think any of the other challengers, people felt that they were as strong. And, most of their, like as we talked about, most of their criticism of her was the Jussie Smollett case. And a lot of people, even those who think that she should be held accountable for how that case was handled, probably didn't think it was enough for her to lose her office to any of her opponents.
Mm-hmm.
During this leg of the race.
There was an article in the Sun-Times that said the Republicans are very confident that, I'm not making this up, the Pat O'Brien, that's his name. There's a famous actor, Pat O'Brien. So that, but he's the Republican nominee. So remember, everybody, this was just a Democratic primary that was on Tuesday. There's a general election where the Republican candidate gets to run against Kim Foxx. Pat O'Brien, they say he's in a good position to win this race. They don't underestimate him. They're saying, in a million years, I cannot see Pat O'Brien defeating Kim Foxx.
I can't either, and I'm not as politically astute as you are, but just from what I know and what I've read, I don't think he's going to be able to defeat her. That's my opinion. And this is someone that was a former Democrat too, who switched parties to try to beat Kim Foxx. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying that this is the case. And he's also brought up Jussie Smollett too, I believe, in the past. And if that's going to be a strategy, I don't think he's going to win. I mean, and the last time we had a Republican in that office was 1990.
Yeah,
I think Jack O'Malley was the state's attorney, and I didn't realize that. But I have the article in front of me.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm really impressed that you remember Jack O'Malley. Yeah, he replaced.
I do. I remember him.
He replaced Cecil Partee, as I recall. Daley became mayor of Chicago. He left the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. And Cecil Partee was the committeeman of the 20th Ward and a former state senator, became the Cook County State's Attorney, and then O'Malley won. And and then O'Malley lost to Devine. Yeah, so that was there. And then before that, way before your time, there was a gentleman named Bernard Carey who was elected a Republican.
Don't remember him.
Oh yeah, this is way before your time, and he was elected. This is sort of a quirk in Chicago politics. He was a Republican, but he was elected in a large degree because of the black vote. And black voters in 1972 revolted against the Democratic Party and the candidate Edward Hanrahan, who was the state's attorney that led the police raid that killed Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, the two Black Panthers. And so there was a political payback in 1972. Bernard Carey. In fact, Bernard Carey, Rummana, is the answer to the trivia question. Who's the only Republican that Ben can remember voting for? I voted for him in 1980, long before you were voting. All right, let's move on. It's the time of the interview, Rummana, where you give people advice on what they should do with their free time.
Oh my God, I don't think there's ever been a more important Rummana recommendation since we've started.
I was going to say take a walk. I'm sure, which is what everybody else has been saying too. I just feel like you have to go out and take a look at all the stuff that's going on. I mean, nature. I just feel like I'm cooped up. I mean, Tuesday I was literally at home all day, and I felt so blah. So I would recommend, if you can go out and walk, that would be great. I usually go to the gym twice a week and take an interval training class. And I'm not doing that anymore. So I run anytime, the other days of the week when I work out, and I've been running a lot more. And I have to find something else to do, but I have been running. I usually run on Fridays anyway. That's why I have wet hair when I go to your into your show, kind of drying up. But I would say walk. And then I was going to say we can probably talk about the column that I wrote about next week. But the other thing is, so I wrote this column about how a lot of South Asians and Middle Eastern people and other people who belong to Muslim cultures, or just different cultures, just laughing at the toilet paper craze. Because we all use this watering, it's like a watering can. I don't know how to describe it, but it's called a lota. And we use toilet paper, but we use other stuff too. And I wanted to write about it. And our editorial editor, I told him, I want to write about this because there's jokes like South Asian actors and, everybody in pop culture is making fun. It has jokes. And I have some Filipino friends, and this guy took a picture of they call it a double. And he took a picture of it and he said, "I'm ready" on Facebook. And I'm like, wait, you guys do that too? And then so it kind of became a conversation. So I wanted to write a column about it. And Tom McNamee was like, "Oh no, how are you going to keep it tasteful?" And I'm like, "No, I'll be able to do it." Anyway, it's that's what I recommend. That's what I recommend. Try looking into and bidets have been right. That's kind of like a more modern version of a lota. Yeah. Bidet sales have been rising up. So I'm just saying you don't have to use that much toilet paper. So that's what I recommend.
Okay.
So you could read the article.
We will definitely be discussing that next week. And I'll shout out to Tommy Mack, always looking out for uphold the standards of good taste for the Chicago Sun-Times.
Yeah, and you know what? He's always been a fan of mine. So whenever I write anything, he's always like, yeah. And then he's a little hesitant, but then when he saw it, he's like, "Oh, this is great." And now he's like, "I was a little worried," and I'm like, "Don't worry, I wasn't going to say anything that wasn't supposed to." I realize it's a family newspaper.
Yeah, it is.
But it's still the Sun-Times.
It is a family newspaper. They won't. They don't spell out words like bullshit. They do SH blank T.
I.
Yeah.
But but we do. We're a little more edgier than Tribune. I know that.
Well, the one that we're in a tangent with it, but the one that's always surprises me, Rummana. Again, I get home delivery of newspapers. The New York Times spells it out fully. They just SHIT. They just. I'm always shocked when I see it. I know it, and the F-bomb too. And Dennis is.
They do?
Yes,
okay.
They spell it out. And Dennis is always, policing me, saying don't swear, even though it's a podcast. So I'm really good about that usually. But the New York Times just spells it out. I guess their argument was Donald Trump says it, So who are we kidding? Well, you know, who are we protecting?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that too.
But
I guess just we never had a president like this, so.
No, we've had presidents who swear, but obviously not in public. I have to tell you this, Rummana.
They didn't tweet that much either, but.
I thought that with being in my house almost around the clock, and I'm like you. I believe in going for walks. I love going for walks. Mark Sims was teasing me. He goes, Ben, you're lucky you live in a neighborhood where you can go for a walk.
That is true. We're privileged.
Yes, and he was absolutely correct when he said that. But I was surprised that I've not been watching more TV or movies, and I've been reading a lot more. Spending my time. I just finished a book. I want to give a shout out to a writer named James Mcbride. He's a great writer. He's one of my favorite writers.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Where is he from? Is he from Chicago?
No, he's not from Chicago. He's from New York City. His memoir, I urge everybody, if you got a lot of downtime, his memoir, which came out, I want to say in the early 90s, late 80s, is called The Color of Water. And James Mcbride is a man who's...
What is that about?
Well, it's his story of his mother. Follow me on this. She's a Jewish woman who married a black man, and her family kicked her out. They exiled her, and she ended up raising her family, James Mcbride and his brothers and sisters, in Red Hook, Brooklyn. They lived in projects. She became a Christian. She joined a church, and she was a force of nature. You talk about a powerful mother. I think there was like 10 brothers and sisters, and they all ended up getting college degrees and being professionals. And James Mcbride is a great writer. And so he wrote that memoir, and he's become a novelist. And his latest novel is called Deacon King Kong, and it's a great read. So I just want to give a huge shout out to James Mcbride. Great book, and urge anybody, you got a lot of free time, if you want to read a good novel, Deacon King Kong. It's a fun read. It's about goings on in New York City projects in 1969. So Deacon King Kong is the name of the book. That
sounds like an interesting book.
You got a lot of time in your hand, Rummana. Start reading, all right?
I do. I will probably start binge watching shows. So,
all right,
which I already do, but.
All right, Rummana, we're going to let you go, get you back to work, and get ready for your conference call with the Sun-Times. Thanks so much, Rummana.
Thank you.
That's
maybe we'll try video next week.
Absolutely. Rummana Hussain, every Friday on the Ben Joravsky Show, the Rummana Rundown. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to bring on Stacy Davis Gates, correct, D?
SDG.
All right, stick around, everybody. Hey, everybody, what you're about to hear are the piano stylings of Jeff Manuel. Man, listen to Jeff go. Jeff Manuel has been playing piano around Chicago for years. He's played for conventions, for celebrities, played in basement bars with blues bands. He's played at prestigious social clubs, fine restaurants, and in the intimacy of private homes. Book Jeff Manuel at jeffemanuelpianist.com. Don't worry, I'll spell his name at the end of this commercial. You know what Chicago Magazine said? They said that Jeff Manuel is, quote, as comfortable with Chopin as he is with Cole Porter. He's excellent, and his performance is joyous. He offers an elegant stream of compositions and interpretations that entertains the mind, but won't hurt the ears. To hear more of Jeff Manuel's work and to book Jeff for your next event, go to jeffemanuelpianist.com. I'm going to spell it out for you, people. J-E-F-F. M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, UELPIANIST.com. Take it away, Jeff Manuel.
All right, everybody, we're trying to call Stacy Davis Gates, our next guest, through Facebook. Sorry, Zuckerberg. All right. This is good podcasting, huh, guys? This is cool. All right. We're trying to call Stacy Davis Gates. Not a problem. I'm not doing it through Facebook. We're just going to do it through regular old Gmail phone. I'm going to play one more commercial, and we will get to it. Guys, live stream chat. Weigh in. How you feeling? What are you doing? Maybe what are you doing to kill the time? Well, I know one feller, Tommy Two Joint Shuba, he wrote a story in the Chicago Sun-Times. Very interesting details. We're going to go over that in a minute on how people are killing time. Guys, it's pot. They're smoking pot. So we're going to talk about that later on. Weigh in on the live stream chat. We'll be right back, everybody.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan. Hey, everybody. Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show is just moments away. Let's go to everybody on the live stream chat here. Yes, we're live today. I went and grabbed the equipment. I think we are a full-functioning podcast. We can work from home, Ben.
Yes, that's correct. That's my Mueller imitation.
I hope this doesn't get old fast. All right. Now, it won't. I'm just kidding. All right. Weighing in here on the live stream chat, Kyle. Kyle says, now earlier we were calling someone on Facebook. Great podcasting. Kyle says, listening to Facebook ringing is definitely better podcasting than that time when Ben held his breath. That was awful podcasting.
Oh, come on. That was when I was in the early stages of dealing with this crisis, and I was practicing to see if I had. I think that's theory has been disproved. Like hold your breath for 10 seconds or
don't
10
do
counts.
it again. Okay. All right. We want people listening now. Kyle also says Nikki Haley has future political ambitions. Cough. President. Cough. Staying on the Boeing board and getting a ballot during the current crisis would look incredibly bad.
Absolutely. That's a great point. You know, there was a theory popping around. Excellent point that that Trump was going to dump Mike Pence and replace him with Nikki Haley. I don't think that's going to happen, but maybe Nikki Haley's just getting ready for it if it does. And so the idea being that if she's on the board when they get a bailout, a massive bailout from Donald Trump, it wouldn't look good. So it's probably a valid point, even if she stipulates it in terms of some greater principle. She's articulating a greater principle, but in reality, she's just looking out for number one.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us live. We are live. No video, just the logo of the show. Well, we're not that fancy. Come on. But we do encourage everybody to download this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews. Yes, we're doing those still as well this weekend at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Ben just talked with Ace attorney Jim Coogan. Jim Coogan was like in his den or something.
Yeah, he was. It was like a library, and we took a deep dive. We talked about the impact of coronavirus on the Cook County courts, and then, oh my God, classic Jim Coogan. He did a Michael Flynn deep dive, talking about Michael Flynn, the former advisor to Donald Trump, and breaking down the fact, what Flynn had done and how Flynn was switching his legal strategy, because it looks as though Donald Trump is entertaining the notion of pardoning a Flynn. So Flynn was cutting a deal with the feds. Coogan takes the deep dive on all that. And will Donald Trump be so bold as to pardon Flynn? Use the coronavirus epidemic as sort of like or pandemic, I should say, as a cover. And so, no one's really paying attention. Pardon Flynn. I think he is. I think he's capable of doing that, definitely. So that was some of the stuff that we talked about with Jim Coogan. And then we'll have Samina Mustafa later on talking about the reaction to
Samina Mustafa will be back this weekend for a Vinny J bonus interview. Make sure you go find those Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Reader websites, and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. Let's call Stacy Davis Gates and see if we can get her on the line here. We're just calling her through the phone. Old school, like Mom and Dad used to on the phone. Let's see here. Oh, let's see here. Hey, Stacy, are you there?
Hello?
Hey, cool. Ben, say hey to Stacy.
Stacy Davis Gates, are you there?
Hi, this is Tracy.
Oh, it's Tracy Bame. Okay, well, I called the wrong person. That's fun. All right, Tracy, well, I hope you're doing okay. Hang in there. We're live.
Hang in there.
Hunker down. Well, that was weird. All right, let me look for the number again here. I called Tracy Bame. Oh, that was kind of fun, though. All right, let's try this number again.
No wonder Stacy hasn't been answering.
I'm like, Stacy? This is Tracy. Yeah. Wait, Stacy? All right,
that was funny. That when she responded, I'm like, that does not sound like SDG.
Oh boy,
you got that?
I believe so. Now let's try this.
Yeah, call Tracy.
That was kind of awesome. All right,
here we go.
Oh, great podcasting here, guys.
Hello,
Stacy.
Yeah.
All right, finally, we having some technical difficulties there. Stacy Davis Gates. It was funny, Stacy. We inadvertently called Tracy Bame from the Reader. So great moments in podcasting. All right, the coronavirus. Well,
she's doing okay, by the way.
Yeah, she's doing okay. So anyway, Stacy Davis Gates, regular on this show, Vice President of Chicago Teachers Union, outspoken progressive, not afraid to tell it like it is. How you doing, Stacy, with the coronavirus scare and the pandemic? You staying at home?
Yeah, I'm home. And how am I doing? Look, you just practice what you can control, and which is, absolutely nothing except for how you feel about this stuff. And you just rest on that. Even my children have stopped coming downstairs because they know that I am a teacher, and so they don't want to do any work. So they're controlling their space. Look, I don't know. I don't front load this, with people all the time, but, I believe in Jesus, and I pray to Jesus, and I do that every morning. And, I also wash my hands. I also listen and, practice the physical distancing that we're supposed to practice. And, I pray, I talk to my family, and I, try to keep it together. I have some family members who have autoimmune disorders, and of course my anxiety is challenged by that. I have another family member who is a resident of the Department of Corrections, and I have some anxiety about that. And those things are, that worry can take over. But again, like I said, I pray, I meditate, I think on good things, and I work a lot because this, pandemic obviously has impact on our membership. It has a profound amount of impact on our membership, and our members have a lot of questions. They have a lot of concerns. They too share in the anxiety. So, having a lot of text, social media, phone calls with members about their questions and anxieties, and just trying to stay on top of getting people good, correct information, and saying that I don't know what I don't know. So just keeping it as even as possible.
You talk about connecting with your members. What's the connection like between the union, the teachers, and CPS itself? Or is there good communication going on right now at this crisis?
We are building a muscle. So there are some gaps, but there are less gaps than there are regularly. I'm on a regular call with a higher, up administrator there that, is consistent and transparent. So I appreciate that. And, it's a work in progress. Like, they too are, moving a huge organization to do something different. We have continuously, impressed upon them our ability to be good partners on this and to use us as good partners. So there are some things that are working better than others, and there are some things that are in progress. But this is a moment to continue to collaborate and to show ourselves open to being the best partner that we can be in this moment. Chicago needs that.
Yeah, this is something, it is unique. And Stacy, when I asked that question, I have to admit that I cannot recall an instance where the Chicago, maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, maybe your memory's better than mine, where it was the union and the administration were sharing a podium, if you follow me, like the workers and the leaders of the city, the officials who are in charge of.
No, like we ain't sharing we're not sharing a podium. Like, look, I think they can go harder in some other places, and I'm not just talking. So like, let's just separate the operations from CPS from the operations of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got to be honest. I was a little disappointed to hear that, sick people going to work would be fine. Now, obviously, I don't want sick people going to work, but the bottom line is that sick people are going to work because they don't want to be sick homeless people, sick hungry people. And so, this moment is exacerbating what is already not there. Like, I would have preferred to hear about the expansion of the safety net in Chicago, the expansion of the public sector in Chicago, and not about how benevolent rich guys are. That would have been my preference, because in this moment, it's not philanthropy. Again, I am a history teacher, and I know that in the history of our country, Reconstruction, the Great Depression, post-civil rights, poverty programs, all of those things expanded the social safety net. It expanded the public sector because there was a need for it. It was not about lifting up philanthropy as an answer, because that's not the answer. Look, what we're dealing with in terms of shelter in place, self-isolation, that's one thing. But think about, as we ramp up the number of tests and the number of cases that we'll see, the number of beds that we'll need in the hospital. If we're really not talking about the necessity of Medicare for all, then we've not learned anything. Because just because I have a decent health care plan, it doesn't matter. It matters that we all have a decent health care plan. And so our interconnectedness is like on full display here. And for us to leave this challenge without some clear recognition that we need to expand the public sector, that we're going to have to tax rich people, then I don't know what lesson we take from it. You got the richest guy in the world asking his employees to share sick days or to give up their sick days for those who have to be self-quarantined because of a positive result of the COVID-19 virus. And it's just we're going in the wrong direction. I'm also clear that with Katrina, the public sector was marginalized tremendously in New Orleans. Black people were pushed out. We're already dealing with the mass push out of Black people from Chicago. We have to secure what we have now, and then we have to expand it. That's the moment that we're in. It's not a moment to lift up individual acts of kindness. I'm not pissing on that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And there is a duty that we have in this moment, because now it's about the safety, the health, and the well-being of our entire nation. And the government has got to grow.
Stacy, I wrote down something you said. We have to secure what we have now and expand it. What did you mean by that? Be a little more specific.
Well, we have paid sick days here in Chicago. That was monumental. Absolutely the right thing to do. Now expand it. We have a situation now where parents are home with their children. And some of them can't afford to be home with their children. We will have people who will get past the quarantine in itself is 14 days. Sick, the paid sick pay is, I think, like 5 days. So there is an absence there of 9 days. So you gotta at least expand it to the 9 days for everyone, not just for the people who have it already, but you have to make sure that everyone has it. I'm old enough to remember that tipped workers were excluded out of the $15 minimum wage. What do we think about that today? You just got to think about all of the things that the left, coalitions in the city have been pushing at least for the last decade. You see the need for those things explicitly in this moment. And so the right answer is recovery for all, not just for the airline, but also for the airline attendants, also for the bag checkers, also for, the workers in the airline industry, not just for the big cheeses who are already cashing out their stock, or the big cheeses who are already making millions of dollars. Recovery has to reach King Drive and Cottage Grove and Irving Park. It cannot just reach, Michigan Avenue.
It's I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm putting it in the context of the political debate that we've been going through in this country over the last it's been at least 6-7 months as the Democrats try to figure out the best way to defeat Donald Trump, the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump.
And where is Joe Biden, by the way? Have you seen him? Have you seen Joe Biden in the last couple of days?
No.
Because I haven't.
Yeah. I cannot tell you how profoundly disappointed I am with that. That was something I was going to lead to. But yes, I was hoping that the Democrats could present a leader who would stand as like the symbol of the Democratic Party in this moment of crisis. And it seems as though as soon as the primary on Tuesday night was over, Joe Biden disappeared from the scene. And I say this not just as a person who wants Donald Trump defeated, Stacy, but as someone who thinks that Donald Trump is doing a terrible job of being a leader. And I would like to see, someone other than like a governor here and there, like, you see Cuomo in New York or Pritzker here in Illinois to a certain degree filling that role. But I'd like to see on a national level a Democratic presence. And I am profoundly disappointed the fact that the Democrats have vanished from the scene at this moment when their voice is needed the most.
I mean, it's a profound silence in this moment from him. Look, the Democrats already had a very insufficient way of addressing the needs that we had before the pandemic. And what we see is the weakness in their ability on the national level to rise to the occasion. You do need bold, aggressive vision and leadership in this moment. And sometimes I think that when people have been in a particular place for so long that they cannot see the availability of opportunity to push forward, a vision for more. Joe Biden's been a creature of Washington for a very long time. And the miscalculation of so many of us in this moment is that Donald Trump is just bad enough to lose because he's just bad enough to lose. And what we know is that he actually isn't just bad enough to lose. And if these stimulus checks go out, and if he does, listen, the bar is set so low for the dude to begin with. If he performs, a fraction of what a leader should be expected to provide, then he's gonna be okay. Especially if he doesn't have any foil, and right now we don't see any real foil. We don't, look, I get it. They don't want to have this sector of politics around recovery. And I need to feel like someone is fighting for Cottage Grove. Someone is fighting for Ashland. Someone is fighting for, all of us in our different, locations. Because right now, what's being talked about, I just hear trillions of dollars going to banks, stability for Wall Street, an opportunity for the airline companies. But I'm not understanding what that means for my neighbors and their pensions. I live on a block of, retired city workers. I live on a block of current city workers. And so I need to know that my neighborhood is going to be secure, not just my family, but my neighbors. And that is the discussion that we're not hearing enough of. Again, this will pass. And what expansion, so for instance, let's just play along here for a moment. Let's talk about a city bank here in Chicago. So the federal government will release emergency funds to help us regroup here. It won't be enough, and there still will be some. What about putting those deposits into a city bank, right? And expanding those who work at the city bank? How much of those emergency funds can go towards a Chicago-centered Green New Deal? Will we expand the public sector, make sure that people have jobs? And teachers have to think about that, quite frankly, because what will end up happening, I was talking to one of our members yesterday, and he was relaying to me that the Monday before school shut down, that his students were talking about the layoffs that they've already absorbed in their own families with parents and extended family members who've already lost their jobs. So what are we coming back to becomes the question. And what are we willing to do in the interim? We cannot see a Puerto Rico situation happen here on the mainland. I mean, that is our closest, most clearest example of how the federal government absolutely failed an entire island of people, right? And so here we are here. We got to push for more, and people have to be held accountable for that. Like in every exit poll, the issues of Medicare for all, the issues of securing, a higher minimum wage and expanding the social safety net, all of those things continue to poll well. People still identify with those things. We're going to have them. There's no way around it. We're in that moment.
All right. Now, I'm going to hold off on the discussion of Medicare for all and these progressive ideas and how they fit into what the Democrat Party wants, because I definitely want to talk about how it seems as though the votes for Biden is moving away from that. I have to say, I'm watching Donald Trump in the last several days talk about direct payments to Americans. And I'm watching, which is a very Bernie Sanders-like idea. And I'm watching today's poll. There was a poll that came out. Donald Trump is now, his favorable rating by Americans, at least in this one particular poll. I know polls vary time to time. It's like 55%. People, a majority of American people polled thought he was doing a good job. And Stacy, I had to just sort of shake my head when I saw this, because follow me on this. For the last 6, 7, 8 months, we've been in the middle of a Democratic primary where lefties like me were told, shut up, vote Biden. he's the most electable, or Bloomberg. Remember, for a while they were pushing Bloomberg. Your socialistic ideas will not work with swing voters. So we get a little trouble. Donald Trump comes out with an idea that's straight out of Andrew Yang or Bernie Sanders, and guess what? He rises in the polls. Why is it that electability is only an issue that Democrats seem to worry about? Republicans seem to embrace whatever ideology they need at the moment to deal with whatever political crisis they're facing, and they don't seem to pay for it. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I think that that's a failure. Listen, when you say drain the swamp, like one thing that you figure out, like in government, is that political parties matter more during election season than they do in actual governing. One of the things that I learned quickly in Springfield is like elected officials like agreed bills where there's not this like polarization of legislation and policy. So they like to get you in a room and get you to a place where, you know, no one's happy about the outcome. And that's what that is an extension of what we experience, you know, with the very example you just provided, is that you forget what it means to fight for a thing, a person, an idea. And that's what we have here is like the Democrats are so put off by Bernie being a democratic socialist and not just a big D Democrat until it didn't matter. It was identity. It's just how we do things instead of what we need at this moment. And so to be honest with you, the two-party system in America is failing America. You know, the Republicans have a crisis too. Every time that man gets up at a press conference and there's a real question and he attacks a reporter, calls the question nasty. It's good to know he doesn't just do that to black women, by the way. He did that to a white man today, and perhaps that was staged. I don't know. But you have an absolute lunatic at the top of the Republican Party leading in this moment. And then on the Democratic side, the presumptive nominee has been absent from the discussion. So I would say that that's the crisis of the two-party system in America right now. A lunatic on one side and a ghost on the other side.
All right, let's talk about what the Democrats are doing and the person who's at the top of the ticket, Joe Biden. I did not support him. I must confess in Tuesday's election. I don't believe you supported him either in Tuesday's election. I know you actually endorsed Bernie Sanders. And yet he has been winning state after state. And an interesting development has emerged, which we talk about a lot on this show. Black voters have been voting a great number for Joe Biden. And Bernie Sanders has essentially lost this race because he was unable to win the black vote. I think that's pretty obvious at this moment. And we discuss this all the time, Stacy. The inability of progressives, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, to make inroads with black voters. What's your theories about this?
Well, I don't have a theory. I have like experience. So I can just talk about experience. Look, this has been my discussion since 2015. You know, Rom won re-election in Chicago. You know, it helped that the President of the United States gave him, you know, a resounding endorsement, and he won re-election. One of the things that I think we haven't zeroed in on with respect to the black vote is that you have to cultivate it. That the knocks on the door, the discussions on the phone, the interactions that we have with black voters, they have to be intentional, they have to be regular, and they have to be longer than they are with anyone else. The type of promises that have been made to black voters over time have taught, I think in part, and there's a lot of reasons to this, but you got to hold on to what you already have. So you secure what you have. Even if it's a fraction of what you deserve, you keep that, right? It is difficult to be bold and imaginative as a Black person in America at any juncture in American history, right? We often romanticize in a way that I think it doesn't inform well for this moment, but we romanticize the civil rights movement in a way that says that all of those people who came to the March on Washington were all of the people, right, in one place at one time. That oftentimes, if you read any type of history about the civil rights movement, the meetings in the basements of those churches were very small. The absolute rejection of the movement by the Black church was profound. You do know the stories of the Black ministers here in Chicago that outright rejected Dr. King and did not speak to him, told him to leave and to go away. Dr. King ended up in a tenement in North Lawndale. He wasn't in a church in Chicago on the South Side. He was in a tenement in North Lawndale on the west side of Chicago. That should tell us everything that we need to know. At the time of Dr. King's assassination, he was not a popular man with anyone. So this idea that you don't have to cultivate and build and organize within the Black community is wrong. Yes, those progressive ideas would benefit a large swath of the Black community. I believe in those things. And I also know the discussions that I'm having in my own family and the types of discussions that I have and the time that I spend with family members talking through the issues and helping them connect the dots. Like I'm organizing within my own family. And my granny used to be the hardest one to have that discussion with. Now, finally, she just would relent because I was relentless, right? And so she was just like, okay, I get it. You know, I don't know if that was just shut up, Stacy, or just okay. But it takes time because the one thing that you know as a Black person is that what you have today is what you have today. It might not be what you have tomorrow.
Wow, and I could just imagine it. I'm just trying to picture you and your grandmother having a political debate. All right, Stacy, whatever. Leave me alone. What did the what? All right, whatever you say. I went through different phases with my mom where it started off where she would be telling me who to vote for. In the end, she would be calling me up. Who should I vote for? I guess that's just the phase of life you go through. What's your attitude about this notion that's presented by several people that come on my show that Black voters are more conservative than the Bernie Sanders of the world? What's your reaction to that?
I think that is a dangerous proposition to put out there in that world. And I would just challenge, Black people to keep some things at their kitchen table and not amplify it with other people. I think it's dangerous. Moderation is a dream killer. Mm-hmm. Like that is the bottom line. Moderation is a dream killer. And, and I'll say this over and over again, it is the bold, risk-taking spirit of our leadership within the Black community that gets me on the telephone with you right now as a personality, as a leader, as an authority of anything. Like if Harriet Tubman doesn't leave a plantation and come back several times to get others, what is that? If Rosa Parks sits on the back of the bus and if she stands up instead of sitting down, what is that trajectory? Those were all risks taken at a time where you needed to take them. That's not conservative. That's not moderate. Conservative at any juncture in the lives of Black people in America is status quo. And in Harriet's time, status quo was servitude. And Rose's time, it was Jim Crow. So in our time, it has got to be the boldness of organizing our community to think beyond moderation, because we didn't get to 2020 with moderation. We got to 2020 with this bold behavior that got us to dream more than what we could see before us.
I agree with you. And not only that, you don't even have to go back to Harriet Tubman or Rosa Parks. As I said to you earlier today, and I'll say it again and again and again on this show, the 1980s, the two most prominent politicians, black politicians in the city of Chicago were leftists, Harold Washington and Jesse Jackson. And they had widespread, almost 90 to 99% of black support. So I believe that this notion that black voters are more conservative than the Democratic Party is fiction.
Oh, it's absolute fiction. It's a fiction that supports the candidacy of Joe Biden. Like, if you didn't have, like, if just think about that. If the DNC had the narrative that Reverend Jackson's campaign in '84 and '88 represented the same vision that Bernie Sanders represents right now, then it's a completely ball game, right? And you got Barack Obama, though, sandwiched in the middle, who is a representative of moderation, quite frankly. Like, his example as a black man and his family, as the first black family of our country, like, you can't front on what that feels like. But in terms of the ideology attached to the type of governing he did, that was moderate at best, conservative probably.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about what went down on Tuesday. We had an election in the city of Chicago, the Cook County of Cook, state of Illinois. We discussed whether we should even bother having the election, but we went and had it anyway, got it done with. Kim Foxx was victorious. Joe Biden was victorious. Marie Newman was victorious. What other takeaways do you have from Tuesday's election?
Women kick butt is the one of the big takeaways.
That's correct.
And that, say it again?
No, that was Dennis being a wise guy saying that's correct. Go ahead. Yeah, we agree with you. We agree with you.
Yeah, no, women kick butt. That's a good thing. The policies have to follow these women kicking butt too. It can't just be the veneer of women winning, but it also has to represent other women coming along with them to help them govern the policies that empower and support other women out here in the workforce and in our society. But beyond that, though, like, I got to tell you, like, Leticia Collins on the west side of Chicago, her story is absolutely tremendous. Leticia, grew up in the foster care system. She has 3 children who attend public school. She was a nursing home worker, now an organizer with SEAU Healthcare. I'm so proud of that. Like, Leticia would have been one of my students when I was a teacher. And so to see someone who could have been one of your students who's now in charge of government in the state of Illinois, like, she gets a vote. She gets the ability to organize and influence colleagues at that level for their vote. I am so proud of that. That is something that we all should be proud of, because that should be the story of right now. Kim Foxx, this whole Conway creature and his daddy and Ken Griffin and all their millions of dollars. That is just a terrible representation of what this electoral process should have been. His craven campaigning to, lift up Jussie Smollett, as if that woman hasn't had her hand in exonerating at least 90 individuals who should have never been in prison to begin with. Like, you could say whatever you want to about anything else, but 90 individuals being released from prison because they weren't supposed to be there, she can have my vote now and ever, because that is huge. And for me too, I often say to people that Black women get, a very thin margin of error and leadership, that you can't make mistakes. I was raised, my granny used to tell me you have to be twice as good to get half as much. And so you don't make mistakes. You try to work hard, but you're human and you will make mistakes. It's just what will happen. That being said, she did make some mistakes. She's human, and she still outlived those mistakes, and she'll be able to lead for another term. I'm absolutely proud of her. I am just absolutely glad that the voters understood the stakes of this contest and voted accordingly.
And Biden's win, what was your takeaway from that in the state of Illinois?
He's a goat. Listen, it just boils down to this: the left and our spaces. We're gonna have to come to terms that we need Black people in our flank en masse, because Black people determine elections. So we can be right and lose, or we can be right and organize to win. And we got to organize. I'm a former athlete, so when you lose, it's not always like. Look, I grew up in Indiana. The places where I went to school, we had more Black people than like on our sports teams than our competitors, our opponents would have. And so, often the referees wouldn't side with us. We called it cheating. I probably would still call it cheating. And that was just what was going to happen. And you had to figure out how to be better. And right now, our left, we got to figure out how to be better. What is the strategy to compel more Black voters to vote their interests, or what we perceive as their interests? How do we have more deep discussions when there's not an election, so we can change the rules to how they are considering candidates? And we have got to do that. The most promising part of this election is that younger Black voters, they wanted Bernie Sanders. And so what we have to do is figure out how to organize that group of people to talk to their parents and their grandparents and to organize that space. Because that's another thing we got to do. Black people have got to be a part of the leadership on the left. We have got to find other voices that can help create strategy, communication, and organizing plans to make sure that the left, the ideas of the left, the leaders on the left can win big elections.
Stacy, in so many ways, I'm listening to what you're saying. It's just like a basic human connection that is so difficult in this country. Just hearing the left to embrace Black people as leaders, as equals, just getting Black people and white people in a room together, talking together, is a challenge. You know what I'm saying? And I know you probably know this better than anybody, but it's a challenge. And it's a challenge that we've been unsuccessful at for so long. And the left certainly doesn't seem to have any answers in this regard.
Well, I think one of the things that may become more apparent to us post-pandemic is that the silos in which we exist, the categories that have been erected for us, don't really matter, because we have this thing out here that is just out here, and it's affecting all of us equally. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what side of town you live on. It doesn't matter which country you originated. It just doesn't matter. And so, but what does matter is that you have health care and access to it, and that you can get tests and that you can get treatment, because that determines my health and the health of my family members. So I'm just saying, there has got to, I think we're having a reckoning. And it is up to those of us who can see the reckoning to express that and to organize for a recovery package that represents the needs of a wide swath of people in this country.
Stacy, let's bring it down to the local level in terms of the pandemic. How do you think Mayor Lightfoot and Governor Pritzker have handled this? Lori gave a speech about this yesterday. Governor Pritzker is, I guess, at 3 o'clock today, Dee? He's going to give a speech. How do you think they've handled it so far?
Thank God J.B. Pritzker is our governor and not Bruce Rauner. I mean, I cannot... Look, my union did endorse J.B. Pritzker because, we didn't feel like he expressed progressive enough. We did not see his body of work The name Pritzker have been associated with the Board of Education when they closed 50 schools. It's just all types of things. And I bet no one remembers that at this moment. What they see is leadership. What they see is someone willing to tackle it. The challenge. What they see is someone that they can depend on with a briefing, with clarity, with decisive action that encompasses working families in this state, that encompasses those who need help in this state, and we just want to keep it there, and I think that that's good to see. I think that we also can't go to sleep and just say JB has got it, because anyone who's ever been in a leadership position, your leadership is only as strong as the type of push and organizing that's coming at you. You just don't wake up one day and make every right decision. I've never seen that happen. You make decisions based on the needs of the people, the pleas of the people, and the solidarity and the organization that's coming your way. And so in this moment, we should not just rest and say, he got it. We should be clear about our needs and pushing him towards our needs. Now, he's already demonstrated that he can be pushed there and that he's willing to be there. And that is what you need in a leader. But we also need the constituencies on the ground to put your needs and your interests first. Because I'm going to tell you, small business people are putting their needs out there. Big business people are putting their needs out there. Working families must do that. Middle class families must do that. Poor families must do that. The homeless population has to do that. All of these advocacy groups, we cannot say, we don't want to feel awkward or in a bad position. We have to continue to push forward an agenda that represents all of us and not just some of us.
And how do you evaluate Mayor Lightfoot's performance so far?
I think J.B. Pritzker is doing a tremendous job.
Okay. Stacy Davis.
Did you watch the speech yesterday, Stacy?
I think Governor Pritzker is doing a tremendous job.
This reminds me of the old days when Governor Pritzker was candidate Pritzker, Stacy, and he would go on every talk show in the world, and all the reporters. He was running for office, and he was running on a platform. This is my favorite memories of J.B. Pritzker's candidate. He was running on a platform of a fair tax. But he didn't want to release the specifics of the fair tax because as soon as he did that, there would be a target that Bruce Rauner could pound away at. Do you follow what I'm saying? So every reporter, myself included, because you had to play this, you had to do it. You had to ask J.B. Pritzker the tax question. And so we would come up with all different kinds of ways to shape the question, basically trying to get him to say what his rate structure would be. And J.B. Pritzker would just, not going to do it. And he would just duck and dodge and avoid it. And I've heard so many different reporters try different ways. It's very similar to asking you questions about Lori Lightfoot's performance in light of.
Look, I'm just going to be clear. We need the Chicago Public Schools to continue to have a collaborative process with the Chicago Teachers Union. That's what that needs right now. When this is over, we could probably have some conversations, but I am encouraged by the governor, by the Illinois State Board of Education in this moment, and how they are putting forth leadership. And I'm just going to keep it there. And there will be enough time for Monday morning quarterbacking at some point. And, hopefully by then it won't matter. We'll be talking about the expansion of the public service, that will have, a better grasp on policy that taxes the wealthy, to expand the social safety net, to, create a Green New Deal here in Chicago that will help to expand the offerings of jobs here, that Black people could actually stay in Chicago instead of getting kicked out, that immigrant families continue to feel safe in this space, that working families can continue to afford to live here. Those are the things that I am looking forward to. And I just don't need folks in Chicago losing their voice in this moment. I think now is the time where you have to use your outside voice and do it, for the many, and do not feel compromised in doing so. It requires that. Look, let me tell you, rich people calling leaders all over this world right now, figuring out where the opportunity is. You hear me?
Yes.
And now it's not the time for our advocacy groups, for our organizing and base building groups to get silent. Now is the time for you to say what you need. The United Working Families, in coalition with a number of progressive advocacy organizing groups, has put forth a proposal for recovery for all. That's what we need. Expansion of sick days. We need an expansion. We need government to grow and wealthy people. If you can write me a check for $1 million just out of your generosity, you can pay some more taxes. Because I can't write you a check for $1 million.
I'm with you 100% on this one, Stacy. I've been saying this all week, and we'll close this by making this point. Get your response. Donald Trump is the president of the United States, the head of the Republican Party. For the last 30 years or so, Republicans have been telling us that one of the most important issues we face as a country is to make sure we have a balanced budget. I've heard this a million times, and they always attack Democrats, tax and spend. They're just going to grow a deficit. That's not the way you run a business. That's not the way you run a country. Thank goodness we have a businessman running the country. First time we get in trouble, what does he do? He finds his inner socialist checks. He's just writing checks. He's jumping up in the polls. I cannot say this enough. He's never been more popular since he said he's going to write the checks. I don't hear one Republican talking about a deficit. They only talk about a deficit when they can use it as a weapon to beat up Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or some other Democrat. Why Democrats fall for it, I do not know.
That's right. That's right. And then they run from it like it's napalm or something. Nah, that's the type of boldness and vision and clear leadership that we need in this moment. Is that people who are willing to represent the interests of the many. And you know what? Donald Trump said it like, well, people need, okay, why not? Makes sense to me. And guess what? November is right around the corner. Like, please. He is as craven as they come. Now, the need exists, so no one is going to reject it. And the need existed before this pandemic. The need was so acute before the pandemic, you have to put in all of these drastic measures from New York State to Illinois.
Yeah.
And here we are. These measures would not have to be as drastic if testing was available, because you had a healthcare system that was fully funded and available for all of us. We're catching up to this. And people's breath, look, people were poor before COVID-19. People are going to be poor after COVID-19. The question that we have to call and what we have to demand is, how do we provide a public sector that is offended by the poverty that exists in this moment? And that's what we need. We do not need cheerleading from two millionaires, billionaires, who had money to pay in taxes, but instead wrote a philanthropic check. Mm-hmm. Get the tax, expand the safety net, make sure people have health care, make sure when you're sick that you can take off from work and not risk shelter and food. That's the point. Build the infrastructure when no one's watching. Build the infrastructure when there's not a pandemic or an emergency. And build it afterwards, because that's the only way we're going to get through this.
All right, very good. That's Stacy Davis Gates, Vice President of the Chicago Teachers Union and a good friend of the Ben Joravsky Show. Stacy, stay safe and stay away from those germs, and come back on our show real soon, because we're still doing this, even though we're doing it from our house.
Well, call me.
We will call you.
No. Yeah, next time you might get a kid or two on the show, but give us a call. Look, you guys stay safe, and everyone who loves and listens to Ben and Dennis, you all stay safe as well. Do the best that you can, and call in for reinforcement when you need it. I would also like to direct people to our website, cculocal1.org, for updates with the schools. I would also like to direct people to the United Working Families website to learn more about the Recovery for All package.
All right, very good. Stacy, we'll be checking with you probably maybe next week. So keep that phone line open. That's Stacy Davis Gates. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Thank you, guys.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
Commercial break over. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from Ben's house.
Yes, indeed, live from my house. We're going to close down the show for the day. Stacy Davis Gates was SDG. She was Stacy Davis Gates. What can I say? She had a lot to say.
JB Pritzker is doing an incredible job. What about Lori, though? JB Pritzker is doing an incredible job.
Don't say anything bad about Stacy Davis Gates. Anyway, thank you so much, Stacy. Always love talking politics and everything else with Stacy Davis Gates.
The live stream chat was wondering, too, did she call Joe Biden a goat, like a farm animal, or a ghost, like a human spirit? Which one was it? What do you think? Goat or ghost?
I think she was talking goat. I thought the reference was to the fact that he had the connection to Obama, but whatever.
I was thinking ghost because he hasn't been seen.
Oh, it could be ghost. Anyway, well, I'll have to call her and ask her about that. Yeah, I was wondering the same. I was kind of wondering what exactly was she saying there, but she was on such a riff. I didn't want to interrupt her. Anyway, great job by Stacy Davis Gates and Rummana Hussain as well.
What a week it's been, huh?
What a week it's been, man. Got to give us credit. I'm going to give us credit, all right? We somehow or other managed to pull this off. Dennis, let's give a shout out to Dennis, man. This guy has stitched together a studio in my room. He had to ride his bike down to the Bright one today to the Sun-Times to get another computer. Hardest working producer in the world.
It was crazy, man, at the Sun-Times. There was just Kevin, the security dude. That was it.
That's it.
That was it. Nobody was at the Sun-Times.
It's a different world.
Whoa.
As we speak, J.B. Pritzker is probably going to be giving a speech, having started already, talking about even more of a lockdown. So we'll see what the world looks like next week when we return. Again, we're going to have plenty of weekend material. We have Jim Coogan bonus. We're going to drop, I don't know, Dennis and I will figure out when. And Samina Mustafa will be, Samina's all fired up. She's going to be breaking down the government's response to the virus. And she's also going to be talking about the Democratic response. She had a lot of things to say, sort of follow up on Stacy was saying. Very disappointed in Joe Biden and the Democrats. Come on, guys. You got to step up. You got to show that the Democratic Party has a voice, has a vision, has a sense of where the country should be going, trying to push Trump to the left. We've been trying to push Biden to the left. Now Trump is like finding his inner Bernie. Come on, Dems. You got to stand for something. So anyway, we'll have the interview with Samina Mustafa. We'll be dropping that this weekend as well. So once again, thanks Stacy Davis Gates. Thank Rummana Hussain. And of course, thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois. And as Stacy, Rummana can tell you, back home in Alton, they call him White Lightning. Be safe, folks. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
One of these days, I'll just be Dennis. One of these days.
One of these nights.
Please stop singing. And remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows and Benny J bonus interviews, like this weekend's bonus interviews at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. Downloaders, we're now live streaming. We're back, baby! From Ben's house. You'll hear the brown line every now and again. It's fun stuff. Join the live stream chat. Chicago Sun-Times and the Chicago Sun-Times YouTube channel. Working on video. It's pretty cool to listen to, though, live. You know what I mean?
Everybody, please take care of yourselves. Take vitamins. A lot of people are talking about sanitizer and Lysol and all that. Take vitamins. Make sure your inner body's good. You know what I mean? Please take care of yourself, and we'll see you all Tuesday.
Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone, make sure the kids hear words.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
That's correct.